trained for all this. So if y'all are ready, we'll roll. Okay.
Introduce us, oh great leader of the podcast.
Well, welcome back, guys, to the Areopagus. I'm here today again with Jordan and Shane. We've had a fun discussion prior to the start of this, but it is time for us to, I would say, get serious, but we don't always stay serious on here.
Oh no, where's the fun in that?
So
Shane's the class clown.
Yeah,
well, I'm the throw to guy.
It's
remember?
Definitely Shane. Is definitely
Shane is
class
the theological Jack in the Box. Crank him up and he'll pop out at any time.
There you go.
Hey, it works, right?
Whatever works.
So, today's topic is going to be more of a discussion as to why it makes sense or why it doesn't make sense. To the comment that I've heard, I know Shane have heard, I can almost guarantee that Jordan has heard as well, is that I don't have to go to church to be a Christian. That I can just worship in my own way at my house in my time, that I don't have to go to a corporate church establishment. That is another one I've heard, is a corporate church setting.
I like that you say corporate church establishment.
Yeah, that is one that I heard. I was caught off guard by it because I never heard that before. And
it sounds sassy. It does. Like, I go to a corporate church establishment. I don't know about you.
I think
Princess
there are
Sassy
some
Pants over here.
corporate churches.
Corporation churches, maybe?
Well,
oh man, I'm allergic to something in here.
Something's got you going.
come near
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I want to put out to all my brothers and sisters, tomorrow is Veterans Day.
It is
There you go.
Veterans
Thank
Day.
you for
We
your
are
service.
recording.
Absolutely.
I'm one of y'all, Navy, so
Yes,
love y'all and our country, and we wouldn't be able to do this.
For sure.
If it hadn't have been for the men and women, that
Absolutely.
went out there fighting the battles overseas and such. So again, to my veterans, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many friends I went to school with and people I know that are still enlisted or have retired. I never joined. I went about serving in a different capacity. But yeah, we wouldn't be here today with the rights and the freedoms we have to do this with them and out our duty, and more importantly, our vets and that have paved the way for us to be here today.
And it's not easy writing a blank check to the government up to and including the amount of your life. So, I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on with the families, not just the service members themselves, but wives, children. And so, like I said, it's a big, giant thank you from the Areopagus podcast. We love you guys, and thank you very, very much. So we'll give you a hand. Give a hand.
Absolutely.
Definitely will do that.
Absolutely.
For sure. Appreciate y'all, and Jordan, we appreciate you for your time in.
Oh, I would say my pleasure. It was fun, but I don't know about pleasure. So, but I had my fun moments. I did. So, made a lot of good friends and had a lot of good experiences. So.
Right.
But back to what you were saying.
So, it's hearing that I don't have to go to church to be a Christian. And my point of view and my perspective today is a lot different than it was 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, because I was one of those that said, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't have to go to church to prove I'm a Christian. and so for me, that comment holds a different weight because I was on that side of the coin for years.
Mhm.
Just because I knew I was a Christian, but I didn't want to at some points in my life spend my one day off a week to wake up early to get dressed and wear nice clothes to go sit somewhere for 2 hours to go home and change. That I was a Christian. I knew who I was, but I didn't feel that I had to go to church. I did go, but I didn't see the reason why.
He was just lazy.
I
He said he didn't want to get up early like
that's
3
what he
times.
described.
you know what? You know what? At that point in my life, that was my one lazy day, and I
Oh,
didn't
that's
want to
just
do it.
one lazy day.
So that was part of it, and I won't deny it. It is what it is, but it definitely when you start going, and I guess you get into a church that you enjoy being at. You're around people who are good people who are firm in their Christian foundation. Um, and as you start to grow when your walk and in your foundations grow, I want to be here more. I want to be in the
Oh,
church.
yeah.
I want to be around these people because I know the benefit of being in that environment.
Mhm.
To whereas 8-10 years ago I didn't, but I wasn't at the time walking with Christ either. I was saved. I knew I was saved. I knew women where I would go when I died, but that was the extent of my warrior care, if I'm being honest. And looking back, that is a sad existence in my point of view.
Sad existence.
To just feel like you're doing it because you have to.
Yeah, I think well, I mean, there's a lot of things that we do in life sometimes that, you do it because you have to. I mean, it might make me sad. I don't know. I would say, do you like basketball or football better?
Football.
Football? Football, basketball.
I'm going to say football because I've never played basketball.
So who do you
A
think
white boy
is...
can't jump. This
You never seen that movie, have you?
this white boy can't jump. I'll say that.
Man. So who do you think the greatest football player is of all time?
Probably Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Who do you think is the greatest football player of all time?
I don't know about greatest. I've got several. Feel like I can name the most consistent. I would have to say, and this really hurts. It pains me to say, but Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady. Picked out the Tom Brady. Okay, so.
I mean, he's definitely been consistent throughout his whole career. That is something I cannot fault him for.
You can't fault. I mean, there was a time where I wish there was some little gremlin on the field that ate Tom Brady's Achilles tendon.
Like Ray Lewis.
Because I'm just like, come on, somebody stop the man,
Exactly.
please.
Ray Lewis, as good as he was, and as big of a beast as he was on the field, let me down every time he played against Tom Brady.
Oh, man. So,
anyway.
We got Tom Brady, got Joe Montana. Here's the thing about what you said. I don't have to be a Christian to go to church. I don't have to go to church to be a Christian. Absolutely. 100%. I don't have to be on a football team to be a football player either. I can be a football player without being on a football team. However, take Joe Montana. Tom Brady, one of the greats, right? Take 10 of the players away on the offense. It's just him. How good is he?
Mm-hmm.
How many
He-
yards do you think he'd get?
He ain't nothing.
Exactly. So, do you have to go to church to be a Christian? No. You don't have to be on a football team to be a football player. But you can't be effective without going to church. And you can't be effective without having a team.
Right, which plays very well into the statement I made about being around a strong group of people. You establish some relationships, and you build those communities with people who surround you and who encourage you and who lift you up and help you when you're down. And that's probably the best analogy you could have come up with. I think
I
is
told you I had a moment for
Well,
you.
I want to play Jordan for a minute.
okay.
I'm not a football grade, okay?
No,
You
no,
get what this-
No. On basketball, it's Michael Jordan.
I was
Let's
just
get
about to say. I was just saying. But if y'all didn't say Michael Jordan on basketball, we were I was going to walk out.
It's Michael
LeBron
Jordan.
James, all right, this is over.
No.
Let's take it on.
And without question, it's Michael Jordan. Without question.
No, and just to finish our sports analogies, let's go to my favorite sport, boxing. And you talk about somebody to love, to hate, Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather. Yeah.
I mean, the dude, you can't hit him. You know, you might get him twice in the entire boxing match, and he drives me nuts.
Is boxing really a sport?
Yes.
I mean,
Climb in the ring and find out.
He said it with like all the conviction that you could have. Just like, yes, Jeremy, where have you been this whole time?
you know, boxing. Now, granted, I will watch a boxing match. I am curious to watch the Tyson and-
Netflix. November
Netflix.
15th, baby. Come on.
It's ready to go.
Okay, so
I'm going to be praying hard for forgiveness after as I wish Mike Tyson to knock it full out.
I hope he bites his ear off too.
Wow, I'm hoping he's cured of that.
I know. No, because that's everybody. You say Mike Tyson first. You do like one of those Rorschach tests or whatever. You know, you put up. So what is that? That's an ear. Right there.
That's what
ear.
you hear.
That's an ear.
Okay, you guys out there, y'all aren't gonna get much out of this podcast today. I can tell you
Well,
that.
they may be. You never know. You never know.
So I asked if boxing is a sport because yes, it takes skill, it takes training, it takes talent, it takes courage to do all that. I get that. But is two men beating on each other really a sport?
Yeah,
I mean,
a football is just 11-11 people beating on each other.
Not
But
nowadays.
there's a lot more strategy and stuff involved.
You
in
think there's
football than
more
boxing.
strategy?
in boxing or football?
Boxing, you're trying not to get hit from a man that's standing,
Yeah,
you know, 6 inches away
You're in
from
a
you.
ring and you're trying not to get hit versus you're on 100-yard football field trying to get to a touchdown and you're trying to overcome
All
your
right.
opponent.
Yeah.
I'm just
Y'all asked
there's
for it.
more
Y'all going to get a
strategy.
ton of video
And that's
showing
fine,
some of the
and that's
greatest
fine. I'm not
boxing.
saying there's,
I
I'm
don't
not saying
mind
there's no
boxing.
strategy in
I
boxing.
enjoy
I'm not
boxing.
saying
I'm
I'm saying
think
there's
I would-
more strategy in football.
I think I would have done well in the times of gladiators and things,
Does
and to watch people beat the mess out of
Does
people.
Mayweather have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, they're
a
right
head
on the corner of the
coach?
ring. You'll hear them yelling the whole
I
time.
don't see. There's 5 of them in there, right in place, out holding them up. Calling audibles in
There's a shoulder
the
shrug. There's a shoulder shrug.
Let it lean into it.
That's
lean.
right.
You got Farmer Fran over there. Just no.
You sit there when you see one of these guys that can time it perfect. He sits there and purposely baits that guy into throwing that left hand, and he just moves just slightly out of the way, and then comes back that right, and just bam, he's out. Oh,
Dude, if
it's
we keep
awesome.
talking about boxing, Shane's gonna need to take a cold shower. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you get me wound up, too.
He's getting hot blooded.
We used to get together and watch boxing, man, back when it was in its heyday, and Showtime and HBO had it, and you'd stay up. The round started at 9 o'clock, and I'm
And
telling
they're
you,
done by 9:02.
Okay.
only when it's like Tyson
Ladies,
fighting.
let's circle back to our
Oh,
topic
okay.
here.
Oh yeah, I was going to be Jordan. Hang
Yes,
on,
you're
here
gonna-
we go.
You were going to beat me? Oh
I
my
was gonna
gosh.
be you.
You have to be violence, man. Choose some
Okay,
violence.
so you said, both of y'all said that you go to church to have an important group of people that can lift you up because you're going to face battles against Satan. The closer you get to God, the more he's going to fight, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't say that necessarily. I said in order to be effective.
Effective. Okay. So what if you have somebody and they are a Christian and every Wednesday night they get together with 6 other Christian people and do Bible study and they do their lessons and they get together instead of coming to church on a Sunday morning and they get together.
That is a church.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say if
Okay,
y'all
it
didn't
is
say
a
it.
church.
So,
Okay, no,
exactly.
that is a church.
So
And when
I,
two,
I
that is
felt like we
ecclesia,
needed
that
to
is a church.
put that
and
distinction
when two
out
or
there
more
for people.
gathered in my name, I am there.
That was the point I was going about.
Shane in with the win on that one, just circling us all back into
KO for Shane. I mean, that's just
That's why he's talking about KO. He's trying to TKO more like it, but
so. So I like that because the person that is a good and that is a good in front of Heather's is the one that I heard use the phrase a corporate church service. And she has a group she meets with every week. They do a Bible study. They have, I guess, a sermon or just a Bible study itself. But they have established, in this sense, a church.
Mhm.
It's just not a brick and mortar style church that when you think of church, this is what you think of.
Right.
It is that in-home personal setting, but at the end of the day, the church is not the building. The building is a building with 4 walls and a roof. The church is the people.
Right.
well, I mean, you go back to the original Church of Acts. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about small groups, home churches, things like that. I mean, we're not talking when Paul founds his churches in Ephesus and Corinth and stuff like that, we're not talking about a big giant building with worship
Right.
centers and student centers and all this. We're talking about a home church. We're talking about they may not meet in a home, but they meet together. They have meals together. They fellowship together. Because a lot of people think that church isn't. A lot of people think church is a service. You go in there, you sing some songs, you listen to a sermon.
Mhm.
That's not church. He said church is a group of people, that like-minded people that are getting together, building each other up. They're trying to be a hospital for the broken, and they have things to help people along that path. Do we have a church service? Yes, we do. But that's not what church is, because I would say it was just as bad to say, well, I'm not going to a church, but I'm a Christian, just as much as say, well, I'm going to go sit in a pew on Sunday. That's not doing church either.
Right. That is going to a building to sit at as a checkbox is all that it is. Which back in my case is what I was doing. It was a box to check for the week. I went to church. I listened. Most likely got nothing from it, and then went on about my day and week.
I will say that you're talking about your friend of your wife, doing the whole getting together at the house, whatever, and then your illustration too. I would say that you have to be a stronger Christian in order to do that, because in call it bigger church or corporate church, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot more programs, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more ministries that can support things that happen in your life to help build you up. Whereas as if you have just 6 other people there, you can run into issues. One being in an echo chamber where you don't have somebody that's like, maybe that's not a good idea, or they don't understand perhaps one of the things you're going through in life, and it's hard for them to build you up. See what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. That's one good thing about being in a corporate church setting, as you want to call it, or a bigger church or whatever.
Right.
You have a lot more opportunities and a lot more ministries that can help you, succeed, help you build up, help you become a better Christian. And I would also say there's also more places to serve.
Mhm.
So where you can serve other people and minister
Right.
to other people, whereas you don't really have that with a smaller church. And I'm not saying there's no benefits to a small group,
Right.
so to
No,
speak,
I
because
mean,
there is.
they're doing
but-
great from what I hear. They have their own little pod. They've invited my wife to it a couple times. Of course, with schedules and small kids, that's
Mhm.
hard to
Mhm.
do. But it's definitely, I can see through her that it works, and which is great because in my mind that affirms like what Paul did and what I stated is that the church is the people. The people make up the church. It's not the building.
Right, and the church is the people. It's the ministries. It's the things like that. It's not the building. It's not the sanctuary. It's like so. I tell people all the time that I hear some of these churches that drive me up a wall. But I hear something, you got to give to our building fund. Jesus will bless you. Jesus don't care two farts about your building fund. Like he don't. Like he cares about the people. He cares. Now maybe that building is something that needs to happen. I'm not saying that it isn't, but we too much get the focus off of the people and the ministering to the people, and we just get so engrossed in the buildings and in the attendance and all this other stuff. And like I said, that I would, and going back to the small group thing, I would suggest to anybody in our audience, whatever, if you're a new Christian or new to the faith or something like that, I would be cautious about going to a small group only,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to need to have a wide array of mentorship opportunities as a new Christian. You're going to need people who, they're also new Christians, but you're also going to want people who are very, very senior in their walk
Mhm.
to build you up. And like I said, when you have a very, very small group, it limits the amount of, wisdom, experience, whatever you want to call it. That's in the area.
And well, that's where discipleship comes in. That I mean, you've preached on. Are you being a mentor to someone below you that is new in the faith or is young in the faith, or you have picked out someone like with Ed? I reach out to him when I can if I have questions. He's asked me to come and teach and for him a few times, and when we have that mentoree relationship, not really, but I know that with him I have a foundation I can rely on, and I can use him, and I can pick his brain, and I can ask him questions, and I know that the responses I get will. You got a mouse over there.
It's this chair,
And
man.
I'm-
It needs WD-40 bad.
But
Look where you sitting me up in here with this thing, man. This old rickety thing. Oh
but I know that with him I have that style relationship with him, and although lengthwise I've been a Christian for 20 years, give or take 25 years, something like that.
Well, you were talking about
maturity wise, I've only been really growing in my faith for about 4.5, maybe 5 years.
and that was going to be my question. You're talking about up to like 8 years ago. You'd said that I'm too lazy to get up in the morning and blah blah, whatever he said.
Right.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And
Exactly.
and that and so now it's over the past 6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
like that.
You
Yeah.
started coming to church and been part of the group, but you would say that your growth has happened
In the past 6 years.
being part of that,
Right.
right? So now, like I was talking about, in order to be an effective Christian, you have to be part of some sort of corporate group of something. I'm not saying as in like a big church, small something. In order to be an effective Christian out in this world and fighting these battles, you have to be part of a group.
Right.
I mean, you have to be. It's. Let me tell you a story. Back when I was stationed in San Diego, they used to have, and I can't remember what town it was. Somebody probably has seen this before, but they call it like it's like the 7 floors of horror or something like that. It was like an old abandoned hospital or something like that. But they usually put it on around Halloween time, and if you can make it, and it cost a lot of money, and you had to sign these waivers saying that these people could touch you and all this other
No,
stuff. They were
no.
on that. Yeah, he's
I'm
like,
out.
I'm out already.
I'm
out.
I'm out.
So-
I touch
And
back.
well, that's the thing is
Exactly.
the release form, like you couldn't touch back. Like they're not going to harm you, but they had to be able to touch you to get the effect or whatever. So, but if you make it to the 7th floor, you get your money back. Now, as soon as you go, I'm done, I'm out, they hang this little like lanyard thing, like glow in the dark lanyard, and they lead you out. But for the first floor or so, maybe even up into the 2nd floor, you go in with a group. And you're in with a group and you're getting all the frights and stuff like that. But it's around the 2nd, 3rd floor, they grab you and separate you. And that's when it gets real. Because now you're by yourself. You know? You can't make it, man. You just can't. I'm not going to tell you what floor I'm picking.
Oh, I want to know that.
But you cannot make it, man. I guess you can but it's very, very rare. You know, I mean, it's one of those things like I can't do it. I can't do it without a team, man. I gotta have a team. You know, I can't do it all by myself. And as a Christian, if you're trying to do so much stuff, you know, without your spiritual self might still be able to keep going because you got the Holy Spirit. But your physical self, you're just gonna be just, you know,
Right.
I mean, and you get beat down and beat down and beat down and beat down, and it just after a while it wears on you. But I will say too, and this is maybe this is a whole other topic, I don't know, but in the corporate church setting, sometimes we especially as men folks, we can really have a problem saying no. Like, can you be on this committee? Can you do this? Can you fill in here? Can you do that? And you know, you want to serve, so you're like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yeah, I'll take care of that. Yes, I can. And there's an easy way to get burnout in that situation too.
Well, that's like last week with Ed. We talked about, you know, being involved in 4, 5, 6 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking, and I don't know if it was Eddie or me who made the comment, it's better to, or something along the lines of, it's better to serve in 1 or 2 things well than 4, 5, 6 things okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stretch yourself out too thin to where you're no longer being productive. You're just a part of. And you're right. It is hard to say no when you're asked to help or you're asked to serve.
Because you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You want to help the church out. You want to do whatever it is that you can do to, you know, help others and minister to others. My question really comes to, especially for what do you think drives people to say that, you know, I don't have to go to church to be a Christian? What is it? Is it something that scares them away, or is it laziness, like him? Or
I think there's a part of that. You know, people go, I want to spend my Sunday watching football. You know, I don't need to go to church, whatever. And I think there's also a part where people are prejudging that they heard something bad about one church, and they assume that is all churches. You know, I mean, they see a TV preacher, whatever, that all he talks about is, if you want to be saved, you know, send us $20 and call this number and we'll hook you up, you know.
Yeah, send $1,000. You watched Benny Hinn because you sent me that meme, so I know you watched Benny Hinn. Send $1,000.
I just happened to come across that.
Oh.
I knew who you were talking about, and once you said he swings his jacket around.
Slaying in the Spirit.
Yeah, I knew then. I've seen him before.
You just sometimes
I just didn't know his name. I guess
you watch that and you're just you know, I mean, it's kind of like you've heard this or seen this, and I think also one of the ones I've heard a lot of, and it irks me and ticks me off all at the same time, is I hear people going, well, I don't want to go to church because it's full of hypocrites.
Oh, you
Yeah.
better believe it.
I'd be like,
I've
really?
heard-
So you've and my response is probably not what it should be, because I
They never
immediately go on the
are.
fence and be like, you've never been a hypocrite before? Really? Teach me,
Mhm.
please. I mean, because everybody's been guilty of that at some point in time in their lives. And when you're dealing with 150, 200, 300, 400 other people from other walks of life and how they were raised and other parts in their walks in their faith, you can't
Mhm.
expect guy who got saved 3 days ago to walk in the same way that Danny walks in his faith. You know what I mean? It's just like there's no comparison there. And so when you see something like that, you have to have grace.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh
hard
yeah,
thing to say.
and I've seen and heard too. You get these people who are young adults. I'm going to say early to mid 20s age range, maybe late 20s, who come to Christ late in their life, or not late in their life, but they're not kids or teenagers. I've seen it as well that we as a whole can expect them to know how to be a Christian, or know what to do or what not to do, what to say, what not to say. And I can see where, as a young Christian at that age, going, I've never been taught this, but you expect me to know all this stuff. And so I can see that as a turn off for someone to go, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church, and this is why. Well, that falls back on the church. Are we properly taking these people in? And okay, we know you're 27 years old, you just became a Christian. Are we as the church taking them in, finding them a mentor to guide them, to teach them, to help them in that growth?
And well, that's why I'm so big on mentorship. I mean, that's why the sermon was about mentorship. That
Right.
part of it was anyway. I mean, because that's a big part of it. That is huge, is when it comes to like the Great Commission. I mean, you need to mentor young Christians, and people that are in the middle of their age, like us, need to have Christians that are older in their faith and longer in their walk and stuff like that to be mentoring us. So there should be a constant mentorship protege for everybody, right? And I think we fail so much. Because we take these new Christians that they just get baptized and we say, see you next Sunday, and then that's it. We leave them alone. And that's not how that's supposed to be.
Right.
We need to get them plugged in somewhere, and I think, yeah, especially on huge churches, mega churches, there can definitely be some getting lost in the cracks. That's one of the reasons why I like a kind of a smaller church setting, is because you do have that opportunity where, a majority of the church sees that person.
Right.
That makes sense. But yeah, I think the hypocrite thing, man, I hear that so often. It bugs me, because we're not perfect. That's why I'm here. You know what I mean?
So you mean to tell me that the church is full of sinners?
It's crazy, isn't it? It's a surprise to all of us.
I mean,
I didn't know if you knew. Or not.
I
didn't get
mean,
my
I-
name on the
That's
map.
news to me. I did not know that.
I thought a hospital was full of well people.
Healthy people.
I mean that works the same way. It's we as the church are a hospital for the lost. And I've heard that several times. I think I've heard you say it too.
Yeah, I'll
And-
always say that the church is a hospital for the broken, not a trophy room for the saints. So it's not something we need to go around and say, look what I did for Jesus this week. I mean, it's cool to talk about your ministry and things like that and things growing, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to heal broken people, and we're here to get built up from other people as well. They can help build us up, and we can strengthen other people. And I think that, like you said, that scaring people away, being hypocritical and whatnot, one of the things that's a problem in the church is we don't address certain things like we should. We don't address sin. We don't address problems that we see within our congregation. We left one of our other churches because it had turned into massive clique.
Mhm.
Like if you weren't part of the group, well, then you weren't invited to this, and you weren't invited to this little hangout or this trip or whatever the case may be. And it's just like I mean, it's cool to have groups and friends and whatnot in church.
I mean, you
But-
should develop close friendships and close bonds with one or two people. But as a whole, if you're in the same Sunday school class and half the class is being invited to this and the other half, or just one set of people aren't, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's like you and Eddie being friends. That's great. And if we decide, hey, let's go do something this weekend, and it's just the invite is for 3, that's fine. But like you said, if we said as a Sunday school class we're going to go, and we only sent the invites to 6 people,
Well,
out of the 12, 14, 15.
But not just that, but
That
say,
ain't right.
you, him, and Eddie are friends, right?
Mhm.
And y'all go out to lunch or whatever, and that's fine. Maybe next time invite someone extra.
Sure.
And then the next time invite somebody extra. And the next time invite somebody extra. I mean, there's no wrong with having the 3 group friends or
Right.
whatever, but notice that when you're in a church and you're saying all this in church, everybody's watching. So you need to include your other Christians involved with that. I mean, you never know who's might get, I won't say upset, but might get sad because maybe Jeremy doesn't
They
like
get
what he's
their
always
feelings
doing.
hurt by it.
You
Yeah.
get their, and I'm not, and like I said, I'm not saying we need to just kowtow to every little thing, but my perfect, which I can do this with the youth group, which is what's fun because I have all power in the youth group. But sometimes I want to go to these classes, like Eddie's class, or like Larry's class, or whoever's class, and go in there and be like, okay, everybody out. You're going to Eddie's class. You're going to Wade's class. You're going to this class over here, and just split everybody up for 3 weeks. That way everybody can get intermingle and stuff. And the youth group, they like sitting in their little click tables.
Well, that's like my
over
son,
there.
and you have to pull him.
Oh yeah,
over
why?
all
And I'm like, why? I don't even know why you even go over there. Like, I'm just going to call you out. So I don't even know why you're trying. He just looks at me like, maybe not this time. And, no, this time too, buddy. So I mean, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that would make church even better because people get to intermix. They're forced
Right.
to intermix because you never know what you're missing out on. Talking to other people and whatnot. So. But that's just my 2 cents on that, thinking that that would help not only grow the church, but people will feel more at home a little bit too, because
Well,
they're gonna
that
get to mix up.
and I mean that too. It makes sense. I haven't done it. I'm not going to say I have or even thought about it. But it makes sense if you visit these different classes, you sit in on these different classes. Yes, it might not be a fit for you, but someone you're trying to reach and to talk to bring them to church or bring them to Christ, this class might be a better fit for them than the class you're in. Now, I know that for new people coming to a church, if you get invited by someone, you typically go to the class that someone goes to
Absolutely.
at least once or twice until you begin to feel a little more comfortable to branch out on your own. But we had a guy in our class who disappeared for a while. Well, he went and spent 2 to 3 weeks with every class we had in the church that wasn't a solely ladies class. But he went to all the different classes and sat in for 2 or 3 weeks just to see what those classes were about. And once I found that out, I was like, well, that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Because he now knows that if he invites someone, yes, he wants them to come to class with him per se, but his class might not be the best fit for them based off of their walk with Christ or their maturity or their knowledge, because Eddie can get deep sometimes.
No, not Eddie.
And
Surely he's talking about somebody.
and there's times that I'm in there going, I got no idea what he's talking about. And
I'd love to see those moments.
they're very obvious if you know me and you're watching, because I'll start to fidget. I'll fidget with my Bible. I'll fidget with my pen. I'll fidget with
So anytime I walk in there, it's
something.
just like, oh, okay.
Everything's going.
You missed it this morning after class. I got on to him about because I brought Hayden to the class, because I didn't know where to send him, and I told Eddie, I said, he said, well, sorry if that was a little bit,
Today.
yeah,
Okay.
over where you kind of understood and this and that, and I said, well, I keep telling you, get out of the Old Testament. Let's get to the New Testament.
Hey, no, we need foundation, sir. It's needed. So was that young man that walked in with you?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
because I seen him, I was like, ooh, I got a new youth, and then you carried him off somewhere. I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe he's older.
No, he's been to service with us a few times, but this was his first time to go to Sunday school. So I said, just come with me and
How old is
I'll
he?
show you around 19.
Okay, so he would end up probably going to Larry's class.
Larry's
Probably.
class. Yeah, probably Larry's class. I think Larry does the college and career age. I think.
Okay.
Well, like I said, that's really all I have to really say about. I mean, other than if you can think up more and more reasons why people would not want to go to church versus going to church, but the question is, how do we fix that? And there's really no permanent fix.
Well, no,
I mean, 'cause
because
people are
people,
people.
right?
Exactly. So there's really no other than being always trying to be aware of who you are and being aware of where you're at. Reading the room.
In my mind, it's if you're the type of person that says I don't have to go to church to be a Christian, but you're not involved in anything, as you said, you're not being effective.
The thing is that they feel like they really are Christian,
But-
and they're trying to walk their faith. It's important that, if anybody out there has a friend that's like that, invite them to your church and show them the difference between what they have built up in their head. Show them.
Right.
These people care about you. These people will love you. These people will help you no matter what it is. And that's what we're called to do, is to be that sounding board, to be that guide for others, when they're lost. And I think that's important. And that's what it only took us. I think we visited 3 times before we talked to Tim and
I would say
decided.
here we're in an amazing place right now as far as our church goes at the moment.
I agree.
'Cause we don't have the cliques. We don't have the the craziness that you see on some of the other churches or some of the things that we're talking about right now. And I want to keep it that way. But I think the only way is to constantly keep on watch of not only yourself, but when you see something like that, to be able to address your brothers and sisters with love and say, hey, I see this going on, like, tone it down a little bit, or reel it back in, or something like that. So
Right, or watch for these new faces that are coming in, and you see them each week, but you only see them like during service.
Mm-hmm.
To reach out and figure out how come you only come to service? Is there is you just don't know where to go for Sunday school lessons, or what's the reason? Just try and help them get plugged in, establish a friendship, a new friendship if you can. I mean, it wasn't until, I don't know, 3 years ago or so that our church went through a reform, and all the clickiness kind of left, and then new people start to come in, and I was one of those guys excluded from the large group of guys. So I know how that feels. I never got invited to any of the men's events or the guys' events or the outings or all that. I was always excluded.
how dare they?
And to where now I'm in a position now as part of the men's ministry in between me and Russell, to change that, and to get all the men involved that want to be involved. Now, I know that there will be some that are like, no, that's not me. I don't want to. Why? Have you been burned? Most likely it'll be a yes. But you can't make all folks be involved in things, but typically if they don't want to be, there's a reason. And learn from past mistakes of your own and from things you've seen done, and make the congregation as a whole better.
Fair enough.
That's what I think on this, because if the congregation as a whole is working and being the hands and feet of Christ, there's no reason why someone should come in. Now, the preaching style might not be their style, the music style might not be their style, but they should never say, I don't want to be a part of that church because of the people.
I would totally agree with that.
We should as a whole be welcoming and warming for those who have had a bad experience or who have never been.
I would just say for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's how it
So-
should be. I mean, we're not perfect, and for those of you out there in the audience, we'll never be perfect. We just do our absolute best and rely on the Spirit to get us through the hard parts and move on, and hopefully we can help build people up and change lives. And like we say, I love you too much to leave you where you're at, you know. So that's the motto here. Let's just keep moving forward on that.
Yep. I like it.
Agreed.
Well, guys, thank y'all. This is a short recording compared to the rest of them, but sometimes it doesn't take long to get said what has to be said. So thank y'all, and y'all who have been watching so far, thank you, and keep coming back to see us for next coming week. Thanks, guys.